Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and today we have a puzzle I am more than a little bit worried about. This has defeated all three testers that we've sent it to, but it has been hugely recommended by our Discord server, so I'm going to give it a go. It's really early for me to be recording today. And if I mess it up, you'll never see the video, and it'll be another puzzle on the channel this evening. But it's by Mikey, who is a new constructor to Cracking the Cryptic, never appeared before, and I think that they've been making waves over on Discord, actually, that with a lot of new and very interesting material. So this could be a stunner. It's called Sun Chariot. And do have a go. Now, anything else to mention? Well, just to keep an eye out on the channel on Monday, I hope we're going to release a new setting video. So last Monday we had Demono's setting video. On Monday coming, we've got another one coming up. So if you want to get more into Sudoku setting, then there's going to be lots of bonus material over the coming days and weeks. And of course, there has been some incredible stuff over on Patreon. In particular, Maze Reward Puzzle Hunt by Matyas Martinka. It's not just a puzzle, it's a whole hunt full of extraordinary puzzles, and many of you have been getting through it. So I need to say congratulations to Jim Davis, Sohil Bagat, Andrew Adams, Cody Montague, Michaela Holmes, Sotek, Sean Rankin, Daniel O'Shea, and Matthew Boyd. Very well done. That is some stupendous solving, and if you are a patron of the channel and you haven't tried those puzzles yet, you must have a go. Honestly, you will get an awful lot of pleasure out of them. Now, with all that said, let me read you the rules of Mikey's puzzle. So here we go. We've got normal Sudoku rules today. Cells separated by a knight's move in chess cannot contain the same digit. So if you've not seen that constraint before, let's imagine this square was a 1. Now, if this was a chess knight in this position, it could jump to a variety of cells, all those cells there. Now, that means none of these cells outlined in blue can contain a 1. If we try and put a 1 there, these ones are a knight's move apart, and that is illegal in this puzzle, so don't do it. Now, digits along an arrow must sum to the digit in that arrow's circle. So this is standard arrow rules. So what that means is you put some digits in here. Let's say we put 2, 3, and 4 in. Add up 2, 3, and 4, you get 9. So you'd have to put 9 in the circle from which the arrow emanates. So normal arrow rules. Digits may repeat along an arrow if allowed by other rules. Don't know if I read that out, but that's true as well. In cages, digits sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage. Digits cannot repeat within a cage, so normal killer Sudoku rules, but there is only one cage, and in fact, it's a secret revealing cage. Look at that. It's got a 45 total, and therefore it must contain 9 digits, because you cannot repeat a digit within a cage, and the maximum you can make all 9 digits in a Sudoku add up to, if you add them up, is 45. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 does indeed add to 45, as that poor lady didn't know on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire earlier on in the week. Now, we've still got more rules. Cells sharing a black dot have a 1:2 ratio, and not all possible dots are given. So lots of dots are given, though. So each of these dominoes, the digits have to be in a ratio of 1:2. So if that was a 4, this square would have to be an 8 or a 2 to ensure that the 1:2 ratio was preserved. And clues outside the grid give the sum of the digits along the indicated diagonal. The digits on the diagonal may repeat. So these cells here have to sum up to 32, and we can repeat digits, but obviously you can't repeat those 2 digits. That won't work because that's breaking the rules of Sudoku, but it would be perfectly fine, for example, to have repeated 2s, repeated 4s. I'm not sure if we've just broken the... yes, we have broken our ability to make that total work, but you know what I mean. So that's how the little killer clues work. So actually all the rules are standard in effect. There's just a few different a few different variants introduced into this puzzle all at the same time. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I really hope I can do this puzzle justice. So where do we look first? I mean, my eyes are drawn here because I know a thing or two about Kropki dots, but I do know that if you have a run of 3 Kropki dots where none of the digits can repeat, which is indeed the case here, there must be a 2 and a 4. on these Kropki dots, because it's either going to be 1, 2, 4 or 2, 4, 8 in some order. Anything else will break. If you try and put, for example, a 3 on this Kropki dot, 3, 6, you've now got a real problem with this square because you can't put 12 into it, and if you put 3, you're going to repeat the 3. So this is a little trick that many of you will be familiar with. Right, the arrow here has, you can see, in fact, it's got 3 longish arrows emanating from it, none of these can have a repeated digit on. So the minimum we could make these squares would be 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3 add to 6. So this square is at least a 6. And that might be useful, not sure. I presume these aren't, they don't look big enough to be interesting, but let's check that they're not small enough to be interesting. So, yeah, this is not interesting. 32 divided by 6 is very close to 5, which is the average digit of a Sudoku. So we know very little about this diagonal, and we probably know diddly squat about this one as well, because that's, well, yeah, that's averaging just under 5, but it's still not averaging low enough for there to be a meaningful constraint on this diagonal either. So we're already getting stuck. We've got a cage here that doesn't have a repeated digit in it. So this is like a 10th region of the Sudoku in effect. So we've got 9 boxes, and this funny shaped region here effectively forms a 10th box. So perhaps this square is important, is it? Yeah, okay, there is something I can see about this cell. It's actually really quite beautiful. Let's ask questions. Whether this square can be a 7 or a 9. The answer is no. Why can it not be either of those digits? Well, it's to do with actually the black Kropki dots here and here. If this is a 7, where do we put the 7 in box 2? And we can split our options into basically a binary situation. We either have to put the 7 on the black Kropki dot, which is impossible, or we have to put it in the 45 cage. Well, the 45 cage is fine, so we can put it in here. But look at the symmetry. Look at the way this works between boxes 2 and 6. We've now got to put the 7 somewhere in this box. We still can't put it on a black Kropki dot, and this time we can't put it in the cage either because we'll repeat it. So this square cannot be a 7 or a 9. In fact, it can never be anything that, well, yeah, I mean, that's what it can't be. But basically what's happening here is because of the black Kropki dots, whatever goes into this cell has to be capable of appearing on one of those, in one of those dominoes. Or yes, in fact, in exactly one of those dominoes, because whatever goes in here still does need to make an appearance in this 45 cage and can't go there, so it would have to be in one of these 2x2 sections. So whatever goes in here goes in exactly one of these dominoes. Right, now we've got rid of 9 as an option for this circle. We now know that there is a 1 on each of the arrows, because whether this is 8 or 6, a 3-cell total requires a 1. Which, so now, wow, okay, so now there's clearly some weirdities going on here between this arrow and these Kropki dots, because I think the same thing I've just proved with the 6 or the 8 having to be on a Kropki dot, I think is now true of a 1, because yeah, this box is doing work. It's very, very clever the way this cage works, because now if we think about where 1 goes in box 2, it's the same logic again, isn't it? Because 1 is either on the Kropki dot or in the cage, but if it's in the cage, it can't be in the cage in the other box, in box 6, and therefore it's forced onto the Kropki dot. So because it can only be in the cage once, one of the ones that is sort of being thrust into boxes 2 and boxes 6 must be on the Kropki dot. So we now know that the Kropki dot that has a 1 on it is a 1-2 pair. So we now know there's a 2 on a So we now know the Kropki dot is a 1 and a 2. One of these is a 1 or a 2, 1 and a 2. And one of them is whatever this digit is, which will either be a 6 and a 3 or an 8 and a 4. That feels like it really... That's very, very clever. I'm not quite sure I'm understanding what it means entirely, but I know these squares are now either 1, 2. Well, they are 1, 2. There's definitely a 1 and a 2 on one of them. And then it's either 3, 6 or it's 4, 8. So we're getting to sort of mark levels of pencil marking here. I'm not sure that's the way forward. Okay. Right. Something I hadn't noticed, which I should have noticed immediately, is I was focusing on long arrows, but there's actually short stubby arrows coming out of this as well. So those squares are also 6 or 8, look. So now this is either a run of 6s or it's a run of 8s. So presumably that has an implication for these two squares. There's, because whether this is 6 or 8, it's ruling its option out from this square of the Kropki dot, but this one is doing the same on that side. So these two squares can never be the 6 or the 8. So whichever one, whatever these are, goes in one of those two squares and is accompanied by its friend, the 3 or the 4. So there's a 3 or a 4 in one of these two squares, and there's no 3 or 4 in those two squares because the other one is a 1 or a 2. So what does that mean? Is there a way we know? Presumably, yeah, there's probably a way we can tell whether this is 6s or 8s. Let's have a look at 6s, because at least with 6s we know what the arrows have on them. All of these arrows would be 1, 2 and 3. That's interesting. I was about to be hopeful I could use the Kropki dots to disambiguate that, but I can't, look. Because actually, that's really clever. I'm now thinking 6 might be correct because of the logic we've done already in terms of proving how these digits end up in the Kropki dots. You can see 1, 2, 3 and 6 is exactly what I expect to end up on these Kropki dots if this is a 6, because I know there must be a 6 on a Kropki dot which needs to have a 3, and this 3, the 3 from these squares, is saying a 3 has to be on a Kropki dot, so that's consistent. And the other Kropki dot will be a 1 with a 2, and the 2 in one of those squares is saying a 2 has to be on a Kropki dot. So this is all suggesting that could be right. Let's have a look at the alternative then. So the alternative is going to be if those 3 are 8s. Now this is going to get complicated now, because the problem with 8 is that you don't have to have the same arrows. This could be 1, 2, 5, this could be 1, 3, 4. Right, in fact, that is exactly what they are, isn't it? This is really interesting. If this is 8, there is a problem with these being the same, because it doesn't work as beautifully as it did with the 6s. Let's try 1, 3, 4, and you can see it immediately breaks. And the reason it breaks is that I know that there's a Kropki dot with an 8 and a 4 on it, and I know there's a Kropki dot with a 1 and a 2 on it. But this is telling me I need to put 3 on a Kropki dot as well. And just to remind you why, where are you putting the 3 in this box? Well, it's either on the Kropki dot or it's in this 45 cage. If it's on the Kropki dot, we have a problem because we need to put 4, 8, 1, 2, and 3, 6 on 2 Kropki dots, which won't work. So we can try and hide the 3 in there. But the moment we hide the 3 in there, we've got a problem with this 3, which can't be on the Kropki dot and can't be in the cage, so would have nowhere to live in box 6. So this doesn't work, and the same logic works identically, I think, with 1, 2, 5. Because although you can hide the 1 and the 2 on the Kropki dot, the 4 would need to go with an 8. Well, there's no 4 in here to go with the 8. There's a 5 instead, and you can't put a 5 on a Kropki dot, so that breaks. So in fact, if 8 is in here, you'd have to go 1, 2, 5 in one direction and 1, 3, 4 in the other. And that is far harder to see if there's a problem with that. Is there a problem with that? That's the question. I don't think so. Because now I'm much less constrained in terms of maybe I can do something with this then. Oh, this is getting far more complicated than I was hoping for. Let me just think about this for a second. So, if I've got, I know my Kropki dots now because they're forced to be 4 and 8. They're forced to be 4 and 8 and 1 and 2. So the digits I'm likely to have a problem with are 3s and 5s. I've got I'm wondering if it matters that I've got to put something in here, because this 8 total has to be either 1, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 5. I've not used the knight's move either, actually. I've not even thought about the knight's move. Oh no, I've got it. I've got it. That's absolutely beautiful. It's not the knight's move at all. It's Sudoku of all things. It's just some it's some barbarically mad Sudoku. Right. Right, the trick, well, it's not really even a trick, it's a madness. This is a madness. The consideration is what goes into these 3 squares. And we have to make a choice. We either have to put 1, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 5. The logic is going to be identical in terms of how it breaks. We'll try 1, 3, 4 and hopefully this will make it clear. So, the challenge now is the digit 3. Okay, because this 1, 3, 4 is telling us that we can't put 3s in those 3 squares. So where are we going to put 3s in this box? And the answer is we can't put it on the Kropki dots because we know the Kropki dots need to have 1, 2 and 4, 8. So we have to put 3 in here. Now. Oh, I've lost it. I've lost my train of thought. Why did I think that broke? I thought it broke by reference to this. But maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe the problem is with 5s. Oh, good grief. Have I made a mistake? Hang on. Maybe I was looking at it when I did it in my brain. Maybe I did it with thinking this was 1, 2, 5 rather than 1, 3, 4. Let me think again. So if this is 5 now, 5 has to go in those squares. Oh no, I thought I saw it and I've lost it. I really thought it broke. Why did I think it broke? I'm going crazy, that's why. I thought I was going to end up with a digit in here that was going to be unhelpful. And now I'm not so sure I do. Because I thought what it was going to do was to push something in here that I didn't want to go there. But now I'm looking at it again. I'm not so sure that that's true at all. Oh, Simon, you're such a wally. What on earth were you thinking? Right, hang on a minute. I think there is something here. I think I've just got to get my head round how it works. So we know that the 8s have to be different. So I know that it feels to me like it's either the 3 or the 5 that become problematic. So I have to put 3 in here due to this one. That's okay. I don't see why that's a problem. Now in here, I would definitely have to hide the 5. That's clear. So now I can have no 5 in there, so there's going to have to be a 5 in there. Ah, there, that's why it breaks. Ah, I didn't take the logic far enough. I was wrong. I was wrong in my initial consideration. I didn't go far enough with it, but I have now seen how it breaks. It breaks because this square has become impossible. This is mad. It really is crazy. I don't know if this is where the testers got stuck. I don't think it would be. This is hard, but I think that this is just about seeable. Right. So the problem here comes for the digit 5 and where it's going to live in box 5, because this 5 here is ruling it out of these squares. So the 5 has to be in one of those squares. And now look what's happened. Box 5, you've pinched the 5 out of this L pentomino, and there's only one cell left for it, which is here. But that's in a cage that already has a 5 in it, so it can't go there. So there's no way you can place a 5 at all in the central box. That's really clever and incredibly difficult to see, and I'm sorry it took me so long. But let me just convince you, if you're not convinced, as to why it works the other way round. So if we instead went for 1, 2, 5 on this, and hopefully people can see that if we reverse the 1, 3, if we put the 1, 3, 4 here and the 1, 2, 5 there, you're not changing anything about the logic. It's symmetrical. It works the same way. It'll just go into the other boxes. But let's now ask the same question. But once we put 1, 2, 5 in here, the digit we've got a problem with now is the 3. Because the 3 lives in one of those squares in this box because it can't live in the Kropki dot. So the 3 cannot be there in box 6. It can't be on the Kropki dot, so it has to be here. Now the 3s are pinched out of those squares. And we have to put a 3 here in box 5 where it's going to clash in the cage because of this weird 45 cage. This is, I mean, it's sensational setting. It's so imaginative, but it's very hard to see. But we've got a breakthrough. In fact, I'm going to get 3 given digits. Well, not given digits. These are anything but given digits. 3 digits I've had to basically wade through mud for. But now we can get rid of the... this cannot be 8. It cannot be 8 because we just cannot make the middle box work. So we can get rid of all of these options here. We can place 6s into there. We can place 1s, 2s and 3s into there. 1s, 2s and 3s into here. We now know these Kropki dots are 1, 2 and 3 and 6. So we can get rid of the 4 and the 8 from that one. And the 8 and the 4 from this one. 1, 2, 3... triple in that. Everything, all the logic is symmetrical, remember that. So we've got 1, 2, 3 triples going on. Presume we can't do anything with the diagonals, but no, I think that is a good presumption. Okay, have I used the knight's move at all? I haven't, have I? So what do I need that for? I mean, the weird thing is, so far, I don't think anything's been remotely close enough for the knight's move to potentially be in point. Maybe I can do... No, okay. Is there something going on with this arrow and the 45 cage, maybe? So where does this digit go in the 45 cage? It can't go there or there because of the knight's move. Or there. Or there. So that is a little bit interesting. Look, this digit here has to go in one of those two squares in the 45 cage. So it only has two possible options. Might be worth colouring that, actually. That is quite interesting. So this square can only go in those two positions. Presumably by symmetry we can do exactly the same for this square. If we ask where this square can go, I think it's going to be this square, and also this symmetrical counterpart of that one, which is going to be that one. Now this one can go in one of two... Okay, so each... That's really odd. Each one of these cells can only go in two positions in the 45 cage. Okay. But it can go in two, so it's not really that great. So... Hang on. I'm going mad here. I am going mad, aren't I? That's impossible. That's impossible because this one must be the third colour. Yeah. Oh, I see. Right, sorry. We can do something simpler with Sudoku here. Because if we look along this row, once we colour these two, red and blue, this square axiomatically becomes the third digit. It becomes the whatever these two are not, this one is. So this one must be purple, and therefore this one cannot be purple, and therefore that one is purple, and therefore this is crazy. Now we can do the same here. That one must be the true blue. This is true blue. This is false blue. So now I've almost... What's going on? This is really strange. I've almost worked out what's going on in terms of... I mean, those two squares have to be 1, 2 and 3 now. Ah, right, okay. Okay, forget... this is doing my head in. Forget knight's moves for a moment. Think Sudoku. Those three squares... Yeah, this is better. This is better. These three squares can't be 1, 2, 3 or 6 because they're already in the box. That square can't be 1, 2, 3 or 6 because it's already in the box. This square can't be 1, 2, 3 or 6 because it already sees all those digits. So where do 1, 2, 3 and 6 go in column 6? They go there, there, there and there. So this is a quadruple on the digits 1, 2, 3 and 6. So this square is 1, 2, 3 and 6 as well. Now, what I'm interested in... I just thought about something else here as well. But let me... Presumably that logic must be identical in row 4, isn't it? Yes, these squares can't be 1, 2, 3 and 6. Those two can't be 1, 2, 3 and 6. So again, we've got the same thing going on. We've got 1s, 2s, 3s and 6s on the brain. Now we have a 1, 2, 3, 6 quadruple in the weird 45 cage, look. got a 1, 2, 3, 6 quadruple, and whatever the red digit is will go in one of those two squares, and the 6 will accompany it, or the 6 will be in the other red square. But that wasn't what I just thought about. What I just thought about is that we know, well, we don't know what this Kropki dot is, but whatever it is, let's imagine it was 3, 6. This is a virtual black Kropki dot, because this must contain the two digits from 1, 2, 3 and 6 that are not used on this black Kropki dot, and the two digits that are not used on this black Kropki dot we know will live in that black Kropki dot and therefore have a black Kropki dot between them. So this has a virtual black Kropki dot. I've got no way of notating this, and this has a virtual black Kropki dot. Which means that that square cannot be a 3. Because if this was a 3, this would have to be a 6 by that logic I just did. And the same must be true here. So if this was a 3, that would have to be a 6, which is impossible. So we actually, it's not really helped us. So, well, has it? Doesn't that mean, that means 3 must be in one of those two cells, I think. Which means 3 is not in that square. Which means, I've got no clue what that means. Well, this is, what I will say, Mikey, is this is definitely interesting, but it is incredibly hard. I fear that I've just got stuck again, haven't I? I mean, I know one of those is blue. That is not telling us anything we didn't know before. Similarly, one of those is red. Good grief. And one of those is purple. Good grief. I presume I don't know anything about this Kropki dot. I mean, I know it's not the same as this one, but that doesn't mean it hasn't got quite a few options. Oh, hang on. No, it's not a 2 and a 4, is it? Because that would break this. But it could be a 1 and a 2, and that could be a 2, 4, 8 like that. So knowing this is not a 2 and a 4 together, I'm not sure is important. This is so strange because we really don't have much. Oh, where does red go? No, that's no good. Where does purple go? One of those two squares is purple. But I don't even know purple is on the black Kropki dot. This is really, what I'm perplexed by here is that there doesn't seem to be anything I've not used. Oh, it can't be these, can it? I mean, I know those are, obviously they're the same, but the weird thing about the puzzle is that all you're able to eliminate is the same digit from those, because 1, 2, 3 and 6 appears already in both of these boxes. You've got another one here that's, this one I suppose 4 is not. You can't put 4 in this one. Oh, good grief. Right, this square is given, isn't it? Right, what I could have done when I said that there has to be a 2 and a 4 on a 3-digit sequence of Kropki dots is actually pencil mark this as a 2 or a 4. Because that is a corollary of this. This is either going to be 1, 2, 4 or 2, 4, 8, or the same thing in the other direction, 1, 2, 4, 2, 4, 8. So this square is always a 2 or a 4. Now look at the effect of this. It's absolutely beautiful. Let's try and put 4 in here. Where do we put 4 now in box 6? The answer is nowhere. Can't go there, can't go here by knight's move, can't go here by knight's move, and it can't go here because if it does, it gets reflected back and it sees itself. That's really clever, and it's really clever. I should have seen it more quickly, but I didn't, I'm afraid. Now, what does that mean? That's nice, actually, because now we know those squares have to be a 1-4 pair. So there is no 8 on this Kropki dot. This square is no longer a 2, which is nice because that means that one's no longer a 2, that one's no longer a 2. If this is not a 2, we know this one can't be a 1 because this is in a Kropki relationship. So red has now been reduced to 2 or 6, I think. Oh no, no, hang on, I've got to be careful here. Hang on, I'm not sure I trust that, what I just did there. Because I'm just remembering that red... Yeah, this... hang on a sec. I get rid of 2 from here. If I get rid of 2 from there, I do get rid of 1 from there. That is true. But I don't think it's logically consistent to say I can get rid of 1 from here, because this one could go there and this could be a 6. This colouring is messing me up. So what does that mean? Does that mean anything useful? I've got this down to just 2 options. I removed 2 from that square, didn't I? So I can remove a 1 from this square. Good. Sorry, let's remove a 1 from that square. Don't see what on earth that means. I know one of these 2 squares is a 6. And one of them is the same as this one. I'm so sorry if you guys are spotting what I'm missing here. There is a lot to think about here. What is... I mean, this is a very minor useful point, I will say, is that there is so little information here that, you know, I feel almost bound to think that the solution is in one of these sections of the grid, because there's nothing else here. Everything else is symmetrical. Now this is not 1, 2 or 2, 4 now, so this is either 4, 8 or 3, 6. It's very, very nearly impossible for those to be 1s. Because if both of these were 1s, where would you put 1 in box 3? You'd have to put it here. That would make that a 3 and that a 6, which is actually fine if that's a 2. That's probably what the answer is. But unfortunately, probably what the answer is not how we do things on Cracking the Cryptic. So two in this column is restricted a little bit because of this strange circle here. So that you can't put 2 in that. So 2 is in one of 4 places at the top of the column. You get rid of 2 from... Yes, right, okay. So that's a nice deduction. 2 in column 8 is in either this cell. It's ruled out of this one by Knight's Move. It's ruled out of this one by the fact it would get reflected here. It's ruled out of those by the fact it's already in box 9. So it's in one of these squares. Now, let's think about this square. This square, of course, sees that square. So if this is a 2, that can't be a 2. Now if this is not a 2, one of those 3 squares is a 2, and then you still can't put 2 here because this 2 sees all 3 of those because of the Knight's Move and Sudoku. So this square is, I'm not going to get rid of the 2 pencil marks because I'll forget that I've got a 2 in this box as well. I don't know where the 2 goes, but I do know it's not there anymore. Now, if this isn't a 2, that means this is not a 1, doesn't it? Because we know these are in a virtual black Kropki dot. And that means, look, that that's not a 1, and therefore that's not a 1, and therefore that's not a 2. And that means I don't know. Does that mean something good? I feel like this box is getting very difficult. But maybe not difficult enough. Yes, got it, got it. Right, so before I was worried about 1s in those two squares. Well, how would that work if there was a 1 in those two squares instead? Good Lord, it's beautiful, isn't it? If there was a 1 in these two squares, you can't put 1 in this box, I don't think, because this one sees those 3, this one sees those 3, and this one, by knight's move, sees that one. So you couldn't put 1 in the box. Now, I think, how do you end up with a 1 in both of those squares? If I make that a 6, that does it. That's going to have to be a 1 by Sudoku, and by the medium of this weird 45 gauge, that becomes a 1. And that breaks the puzzle. So this square is not a 6. This is a 2, therefore. Which means that one is a 3, which means that's a 3, and that's a 3. And this has become a 1, and that's become a 1, and that's become a 1. Kropki dot tells us that's a 2. This one means that's a 6. We've now got the 1, 2, 3, 6 triple in here. That's got to be a 2. That's got to be a 6. And 6 is just about okay in here, because the double 6 removes the 6 from all of those squares and this one by Sudoku, so that's got to be a 6. That's got to be a 3. I don't want to speak too soon, but I am actually quite excited now, because I do feel like that is, look, that's a 3. We are suddenly making quite good progress. That's not 3 because of the knight's move. That's not 2 because of the knight's move. 1 has only got... No, in fact, where does 1 go in this box again? It can't go here because of Sudoku, and it can't go here by knight's move, so it goes there. So 1 has moved over to those cells in box 1. 4 is still a little bit restricted in this box here, look. It's only got 2 places to live now. 2 is forced in box 3. So we've got this sort of steepling of 3, 2 and 1 in box 1. 6 though, maybe, oh nearly. No, exactly. Where does 6 go in box 1? This 6 sees those 2 squares, so the only place for 6 is right at the end. So 6 is in the bottom of column 2. And the bottom of column 8. So 6 is actually, we've done almost, well, we're going to need to interfere with one of these dominoes to work out how the 6 works. And what else are we going to have to do? So now we're suddenly, we are doing better. I'm slightly surprised I can't unwind these 1, 2, 3 triples in their entirety. We know still no diddly squat about this diagonal. This diagonal, no, we still know diddly squat about that diagonal. Still don't know I mean, this little arrow here has been incredibly potent for its size. It really has, but I'm not sure I can do anything with it now. Four in this box, maybe. Yeah, okay, that's not bad, is it? 4 has to be in one of those 2 positions. So 4 in box 5 has to be in one of 3 places. Which I'm not sure we can do anything with that. So, okay, so we're going to have to look somewhere else. Where do we look? We can... this is going to be the challenge. 3, yes. There's a 3-6 pair at the bottom of this column. There we go. So... okay, that doesn't actually seem to do anything, does it? 3, 6. What on earth are you meant to do now? And again, the thing that I'm staggered by is there just... there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of information in terms of... what we're meant to do. We seem to have used up, except for this 4, which is sort of the outlying digit, because we've got some 1s, 2s, 3s and 6s, and we've explored what they mean in terms of the knight's move. We have used this 4 as much as I think we can, haven't we? Is there something else you can do with that 4? So these squares have got to be 5s, 7s, 8s and 9s. Right, okay. I can do something with that, I think. Right, here's a pattern I've seen before in knight's move puzzles. It's one that you don't see very often. It's sort of a cross shape like this. I'll highlight it. So, let's have a look down here. Now, those squares have the options of being 5, 7, 8 and 9. This square, it's exactly the same. I mean, the whole puzzle is covered in cells that can only be 5, 7, 8s and 9s. If you can eliminate the 4 from a cell in this puzzle, you know that the only options are likely to be 5, 7, 8 and 9 from the remainder. But this pattern is quite interesting now for this square, because what can this square now be? And the trick is to realise that those 4 squares there see each other. Because obviously these 3 see each other, they're in the same column, so these 3 definitely have to be different. What about this one? Does that have to be different from those 3? Yes, it does, because it sees those 2 by knight's move. So this is a quadruple. But this quadruple sees this square, sees those 2 in the row, those 2 by knight's move. So this cannot be a 5, 7, 8 or a 9, and I think that means it's got to be a 4. Which might, well, it is going to be useful a little bit because it gets me a 4 in box 6. Which gets me a 4 in box 3. Now, this is interesting now. So now 4 in box 2, look, using the medium of the mad cage, has to be in one of those 2 squares, I think. Not one of those 2 squares. What am I talking about? One of those 2 squares. Can't put it in the same column as a 4 I've already got. And 4 can't go there because it would reflect back into box 5. So 4 is in one of those 2 squares. Wow, okay. Now, okay, so we've got we did some stuff with 4s. And now probably what I'm going to be tempted to do is colour the 5s, 7s, 8s and 9s. Because I just don't see what else we've got to do. And I don't need too much excuse to do colouring either. So let's Control A. I think that selects the whole grid. Get rid of the colours. And then we're going to focus on colouring. We'll probably focus on box 5. Because box 5, by Knight's move, should see a lot of stuff. And you can see this square, for example, we just colour it in. Let's ask... actually, maybe this is not the best choice. This doesn't seem to see very much at all. This square's got to be in one of those two squares in box 8. Therefore, in one of those two squares in box 2. This one is easier. Let's start with this one instead, because this one I can at least see can only go there in box 6. Yeah, this one's much better. This one's much better because where does that go in box 8? It's got to go there. So this one immediately transposes into two different places exactly. Now, yes, this is great. Now look at box 9 and ask where purple goes. It's not there. It can't be there because it would reflect in there, so it must be here. So now purple is in the top of that box. I don't know if I want to do double colouring of cells. I think we'll leave double colouring alone and just see how far we can get without it for the moment. So, okay, so now this square is also, I think, okay, because where does this square go in box 2? It can't go there because of the Knight's move, so it must go here. Oh, right, I am going to colour doubles then, because now this blue one is forced into that domino in box 3, but the same is true of the purple, because the purple can't go here because of the Knight's move. So this is a purple-blue duo. So red now is... so we now know where red goes in box 3, because it can't be a Knight's move away from itself. So that's become red. I don't know if we can do much with that. Red is in this domino. I don't know. Let's carry on with blue, though, because we do know blue is in one of those two cells. So blue is also in one of these two cells. So blue... Oh, this is getting complicated now. I'm not sure I want to do those two cells. Let's have a look at this one. This can be green. Now, so that goes there very clearly. And in this box, look, that's got to be green. So it goes there very cleanly. And therefore, green must be the other colour in box 3. So that's green. Oh, this is interesting. Right, okay, let's come back to blue and green in this box. Because blue and green, look, are not the same as purple. Blue and green can't go there by the power of colour, so these two are a blue-green pair. And therefore this square must be the other cell, which is red. So now, yes, now red goes here, look. And now those two are also blue and green. So we have actually got quite a lot of colouring done all of a sudden. Now I can place this digit. I know what that digit is, I think, because this digit sees blue and green, and it sees purple and red. So it's not 5, 7, 8 and 9, which are the digits that we know are in the coloured squares. So this square... is a 4, isn't it? It's not 1, 2, 3. It's not 5, 6, 7, 8, or a 9. It is a 4. That square is a 4. Now that means it means 4 is in one of those two squares. Now we've not placed a 4 yet in column 3, so 4 is in one of those two squares, which unfortunately doesn't seem to be good enough, does it? Right, come on, let's go back to colouring then, because now, if this is a 4, don't we know this is red? We do know that's red. So we now know those two squares are green and blue. Now, should we... I can see that one must be the same as that one, which is the same as that one. Just wondering if I can disambiguate this all the way back to here, in which case I'm going to unshade these and recolour them. I don't know if I can do that. Alright, good lord. Right, okay, let's just take stock. Where are we now? We now know we've got a red domino down here. We've got a purple triple here. We've got a purple... Oh, that's worth highlighting. Look, purple has to be in the same two pencil mark squares as 4s. So this is a purple 4 duo. Now, I'll have to highlight the 4s to make this work. I'll use black. So this is a black purple domino, which means those two squares must be blue, which you can see this can't be blue, so that's become blue out of nowhere, and that must be red. And now I've placed, this is just absolutely extraordinary, I've now placed red in box 7, because it can't go here by Knight's move. This is red, so it goes here. Red is not there, so red is at the top. Oh, so there's like a foursome there. This 2x2 is red. Okay, well, that's definitely better than I was doing though, so I'm feeling hopeful again. Okay, so what do we do now? Can we extend this colouring a little bit more? So I feel like I've looked at red. Can I do more with purple? I know those aren't purple, because that would rule purple out of these two squares. I don't know that I can, you know. So this is a black, red, purple triple. The things I get to say on this channel. Black, red, purple triple. Does that mean anything to anybody? Blue, maybe? Can I do more with blue? Blue? Can't go there, so one of those three squares is blue. Or maybe this is the time I've got to use these diagonals. I've at least got a repeated digit now on this diagonal, a 32 diagonal. Still doesn't look very appetizing, I have to say. If I knew what that digit was, I mean, imagine if that can't be red. I was going to say, imagine if I knew there were 2 repeated digits on that diagonal. This one. Now this one I know for sure I've got different colours on. Do I know anything about that square? I know it's not red. I know it's not green. Oh, that is interesting. Hang on. This square is not red or green. It's not 4. So, and it's not 1, 2, 3 or 6 because hardly any of the cells can be 1, 2, 3 and 6. So this square, I think, is blue or purple, I think. And that's interesting. That's interesting because that means there is a repeated digit on this diagonal as well. So now what would be good to know is if these are, do those have to be different or do they have to be the same? 2 here, 1, 2. Hang on a moment. Right, yeah. This is lovely. Right, look at the 23 diagonal. Because those squares, I think, have to be the same. Because if these are different, what we would then know is that those two were the same. Let's make those two the same and think about what that means for where orange goes in this box. Now, there's a 1, 2 pair here, so there's no orange in those squares. This one rules orange out of all 3 of those because of the knight's move. So you've now got none of those squares can be orange. And this orange rules orange out of the rest of the box. So this is not possible. Now if that's not possible, if it's not possible for those two to be the same, these two must be the same. So let's make those orange instead. Now orange. Now that has to be orange, doesn't it? Because we know orange is not red. So we know orange can't go there because of this 1 and 2. So I think that is orange. Which means this square is orange, doesn't it? Because that square cannot be a 1 or a 2. And that, doesn't that mean orange is 2? I think it does. Because orange can't now be 1. This is completely barbaric. I'm just going to check. Sorry, it's so important. If you get this sort of thing wrong, I'm going to make a right pig's ear of this. So I'm very comfortable. It felt very correct for these two to have to be the same. Then it's certainly true, if the logic on the reds is correct, that this is orange. Now, this can't be orange. Orange is not 6, so this has to be orange, and it can't be 1. I think it's good. So that's a 2. That's a 2. That's a 2. That's a 2. Those aren't 2s. Which means that square is not a 2. Which means what? That means that square's a 1 apparently, so that's a 1. So 1 in this box is now in one of those 2 squares. So now we've got an alignment of 1s, look. So we've got to ask where, we asked where 1 goes in column 2. It can only go here, look. So that's another digit into the grid. And now, presumably, the idea is we check this 23 diagonal. So, we've got 4 on it at the moment, so we need 19 into those 3 squares. And we're doubling one of them, which is... right. So we know that the odd digit, the digit that is not doubled, is an odd digit. That's not really very helpful, is it? 5, 7, 8 and 9 are the options, and 3 of those are odd, so I don't think that's very interesting. So we've got a double. I mean, let's think about what the doubled number can be. Can it be double 9? Clearly not, because double 9, we're looking to get to 19, aren't we? So if we double the 9, the other digit would have to be a 1, and it can't be. So the double digit is not 9. If the double digit's 8, that's still too high. You can't accompany that with a 3. So there is... So doesn't that just remove 8 as an option here then? Because if you can't double the 8, you can't leave 8 as the single digit either, because the single digit needs to be an odd digit. We've just said that. So the 8 comes out. Right, so if you double the 7, you need a 5 with it. And that would add to 19. Oh, bobbins, if you double the 5, you need a 9 with it. So actually, we don't know what this is yet. We do know there's a 5 on it. It's either double 5, 9 or double 7, 5. So there is a 5 on this diagonal. So blue or purple is 5. Which means there's a 5 up there, look. So now red and green are not 5. So we can get rid of 5 from red and green. So, that one's the same as that one. That one's a 7, 8 or a 9. Is this, that might be affecting that diagonal now. Hang on a second. Let me just think about this for a second. Either blue or purple is a 5, and either blue or purple is a 5. Either blue or purple is a 5. Does that mean anything to anybody? Is the next question. Well, the other thing we know, actually, in terms of sort of positive net information, is we know that blue and purple are not 8. So that means in this box, 8 is definitely in one of those two squares. Green or red is equal to 8. So if green and red are equal to 8, we can remove 8 from those squares, which is just the same thing we've already done. There is an 8 on the 32 diagonal now, because one of those two must be an 8. So maybe this is the time. Maybe we need to look at this diagonal and see what this is telling us. So we've got a 2 on it. So the rest of this diagonal's got to add up to 30. And we're doubling the green. So if green is 9, the rest of this would have to add up to 12. That doesn't work, does it? If I double the 9, I've then got these 3 squares having to add up to 12, but this is an 8 because I've made this a 9. I know one of these is an 8. If I make the green a 9, this is an 8, which means those two have to add up to 4. And this square, well, it can't be 1, 2, or 3, so it would have to be at least 4, and then I can't make that one 0. So there is no 9 in green. Good grief. Right, let's get rid of that then. Oh, I don't know what that is. So now green is 7 or 8. Let's try 8. Well, I'm tempted actually to try 7 because then I'd know this. Let's try 7 because then I'd know this was an 8. If this is double 7, it would have to add to an 8. That would be 22, wouldn't it? 22, I need 22, 24. I need these two to add up to 8. So this, that couldn't be, that would have to be a 5, wouldn't it? Let me double check this. So I think we end up with these two having to add to 8. This couldn't be a 1, 7 pair because we'd have put 7 in this square, but it could perhaps be 3, 5. And then this square would have to be, it's not blue, so this square would have to be purple, because we know that either purple or blue is 5. So one possibility for this square now is that it's purple. I know you weren't thinking that. Now, okay, so that's if that's 7. Now, if this is 8, on the other hand, we've got 18. We need 14 from those squares. Which is actually quite difficult. If that's a 7, then those two have to add up to 7. And you can't put 6 or... oh, you can put 4, can you? Hang on. If that's 7... I've gone 8, 8, 7. I'm going round in circles in my head here. Hang on. I think I've got to do it again. I'm getting confused. If that's 8, 8, this cannot be 8 now. So we need those 3 to add to 14. If that's a 7, those two have to add up to 7. That cannot be 6, but it can be 4. Bother. That's really annoying. Now, if this is 9, you need these two to add up to 5. That can't be... oh, 1, 4 would work again. So I think I can't whittle this down at all. I've got this square whittled down. This is now either whatever colour it was I made 4, which is that one, or it's whatever colour is on this diagonal that's not blue. So this square is either... so this square is like that square then. That's interesting. So this square, whatever's that goes in this square, will go in that square. So those two are partners. So, can we learn? Do we know enough about this square to know anything about it? Or do we have to do something? What have I don't know what else I've got to do. I really have... I feel like I've wrung this puzzle like a flannel as tightly as I can. Again, I'm so sorry if you're spotting something. I'm probably missing just a simple elimination here. I don't think the maths of the diagonal... It's really surprising, but I don't think the maths of the diagonal is helping. It's limited some of the options, but it doesn't seem to have actually resolved them. If that's a 4, you have to put a 4 there. You'd have to put 4s here, here, and here. Good. Right, that breaks the puzzle. In fact, you don't need this one to break the puzzle. You can't put 2 4s there. Look, that is unbelievably brutally difficult, because if you've done enough Knights Move puzzles, you'll be familiar with this little pattern here. What does this pattern mean in a box? It means you can't put a digit in this square that needs to go in any of those squares, because if you do, it can't go in there. But we know from this puzzle already that there's basically, you know, we've got the same digits in every box. So what is it we're going to put in this square? Let's try. The options 5, 7, 8 or 9. Well, none of them will work, because whatever you put in there, let's try 7, you now can't put it in box 1. So this square basically breaks. If you set up that pattern in this box by making this double 4, you've broken the puzzle, and that at least will allow us to make some progress, hopefully, because if that's not 4, we know it's 5. And if we know it's 5, we know that must be 5, and that must be 4, and this must be 4, and this must be 4. And now you can see we've got an escape valve in this box with those two squares. Now that's a 4. That's not a 5 anymore. Blue is not 5, we have just learnt, I think. Yes, we have learnt that, because once we got it here, we knew blue wasn't 5. So blue not being 5 looks like it's probably a sensible deduction. Now, black was 4, wasn't it? So we can tidy up all the colouring. And apologies if I'm going too slowly here, but I'm going to take my time and try and make sure that I'm not messing this up, because now that square's turned red all of a sudden, so we know that's a 7, 8 or a 9. We know that this square can only live in this square in that box, so that becomes red. That's red. 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. We've now coloured all of the reds. We haven't done as much as we can with the 5s. Look, we should put the 5s in. Now, so this square can't be 9. Because if that's 9, this square is going to be too high. We know this is either double 5, 9 or double 7, 5. So you can't put 9 in there because your other digit's going to be too high. But so if that's 9, that's 5. And if that's 7, that's 7. Oh dear. That's not good. Why have I got 7 and 9 in there? Oh, that's because probably that's what I've proved. Right, okay. Oh, but maybe this diagonal now. Is this diagonal helping me? I can't remember what the option was with 5. So now I've got 20. I need these to add up to 25. So if we go double 7, 8, which is one of the ways we could go, this would be a 3. That certainly seems to still be plausible, doesn't it? And if we go double 8, what are we looking for? 25. So these would have to add up to 9. Hang on, that doesn't work, does it? If I go double 8, I've got to have the 8 here. Oh, this would be beautiful if that's true. If I go double 8, I need these to add up to 9. The only way you can make those two add up to 9 is with 8 and 1, but this is already an 8. It doesn't work, so it's double 7. Oh, thank goodness. This is it. 7, 8. And then this had to be a 3, and that has to be a 1, and that has to be a 1. And now I've got the colours. I know what they all are. Red has suddenly become 8. Green has become 7. Don't know where it goes most of the way around the puzzle, but this is a 9. So this must be double 5, and therefore I know the colour of this one out of nowhere. That's got to have become purple. And if it's purple, look, where does it go in column 2? It's got to go there. So that is a purple 5, which means we now know this order. That's got to be blue, and that's got to be purple, and that one's the 5, and blue is a 9, which means that's a 9, that's a 9, that's an 8, sorry, I could have done that before, I just didn't spot it. So this, I think this cell is going to be how these 4 squares get unwound. So I'm going to need to know the colour of that one. But we should be able to do more here. Now we can get the 9 in that box. I should colour it in. These 2 squares have got to be, one of them is a 7, so the 7 must go here. And one of them must be a 3 because we've not put 3 in the box. Where does 3 go? Down here now. 3 is in exactly that square. That's become a 6, therefore. That's a 6 and that's a 3. These 2 squares are a 7, 9 pair, so 7 and 9 go in. Now 7 is green, so and that's lovely because that fixes this one as blue. This one has become green, so that's 7, that's 9. Therefore this can't be 9, that's 9, that's 7. That's 7, that's 9, and I think, and I will colour it because I will get immense I will get an unreasonable amount of pleasure from doing that. Those two have to be green now. And I should have everything coloured apart from all the 2s. The 2s should all be coloured. Apart from, oh, the 9s all need to be coloured. The 4s all need to be coloured. And now just those silly 1s, 3s and 6s are uncoloured, I think. And I feel like I've solved it. Yes! Oh, good grief. That is one, I think that's one of the hardest puzzles I've ever done on the channel. I really do. It's unremittingly, I mean, it's a brilliant construction. I have to say, Mikey, that is a heck of a debut. But it is unremittingly hard. Even the opening bits were very, very difficult. It feels like about a month since I started this puzzle, but working out the tricks with the Kropki dots is really challenging. At least it was for me. And it's incredibly clever that you can fix this as a 6. And then what did I have to do? Yeah, then I had to sort of whittle away. I had to get those squares as a 1, 2, 3, 6 quadruple. Oh yeah, and then I had to appreciate that these were sort of virtual Kropki dots and whittle away at them. And there was something I did in box 1 that was very difficult. And eventually you get these. And then what did I have to do? I can't even remember. I mean, and then once we got onto the colouring was monstrous. I mean, it was incredibly interesting. And the way these 23s and 32s, I mean, it didn't just give you the puzzle, did it? You really had to worry away at it. And, oh yeah, there were 2 horrible bits of Knight's move logic. There was this one in the column, working out that this was a 4. And then this one here, working out that those couldn't be a 4s because it creates that funny pattern that you sometimes see. It's all difficult. It really is. Now, I've no doubt I'm going to be inundated with people in the comments saying, well, you could have done this, could have done that. Well, I did it my way, to coin a phrase. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry it's such a long video. I'm sorry I'm not cleverer. This is something I lament all the time, but that's the way I was made. And thanks so much for watching. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.